This episode is brought to you by Hasa. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the bottom feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Best of the Pool Guy Podcast Show. And today I'm going to be joined by Fred Schweer of PoolRx, and we're going to talk about the mineral system that they manufacture that allows you to reduce your chlorine use and eliminates all types of algae in a pool. And so these 3 episodes are going to cover PoolRx in detail, and I think you're going to enjoy this look at their latest edition, the PoolRx Plus for 2025 as we enter the 2026 pool season. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy coaching program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. I'm joined today by Fred Schweer from PoolRx. How you doing today, Fred?
Good, David. How are you?
Good. And you're the VP of Sales over at PoolRx, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so you pretty much know the product inside and out.
I would say so. Yes. Been with the company going on 15 years. So it's been a great experience, and I really enjoy teaching folks about PoolRx and how they can save time and money at all their pools.
So let's focus a little bit on the Pool Pro, because I think this is where a lot of usage of the PoolRx product is sold and distributed. Let's go over just the basics. What is PoolRx Plus?
PoolRx is an EPA-registered algicide, and it's NSF 50 certified, which is necessary for all your public, commercial water. We're utilizing 3 active ingredients, which are copper, silver, and zinc. And our minerals are uniquely chelated, which protects our minerals at a molecular level. It's critical to our success. We really sets us apart, our chelation method. And really what PoolRx does is it eliminates and prevents all types of algae. And by doing that, it's reducing chlorine demand. And even better, it's effective for up to 6 months. So what we're doing is we are, killing any existing algae you can see, but more importantly, PoolRx prevents even the microalgae you can't see. So in a clear pool, it's the microalgae that is the biggest consumer of chlorine. And with PoolRx, you're going to be algae-free, using less chlorine. And in addition, you're not going to have to worry about phosphates anymore in the water. The chlorine is now more active and available to really clarify the water, so you're not having to worry about clarifiers. And we are your algicide, so you're not going to be using other algicides. And again, we're going to be reducing chlorine demand, and you're not having any algae, so you won't have to use excessive shock either. So a lot of benefits to every pool using PoolRx, and not just the problem pools, but really for every pool product.
Let me just ask you, let's just focus on the chelating thing, because a lot of people get confused, and there's other products out there. There's, of course, copper algicides that aren't chelated. And chelation has been used in the medical field for a long time to, lead poisoning, things like that. So this process, basically, the metals aren't going to drop out of solution and stain the pool. Is that the main reason why you do that?
Yeah, we need to protect the minerals at a molecular level, so they don't have any adverse reaction to other chemicals in the water, or high or low pH fluctuations, over oxidation. So our minerals are protected through the life of the mineral, and lots of products out there claim to be chelated, but what happens is over time that chelation breaks down, and also from over oxidation, chlorine levels. And so with PoolRx, the unique way that we do our chelation really protects our minerals for the life of the mineral. So our minerals do get used up and filtered out over time, but the chelation is protecting those minerals through the life of that mineral. So we never have any type of fallout or staining issues due to our chelation breaking down. In fact, the chelation is so strong that you're not going to be getting an accurate copper test reading from your typical reagent test strips or liquid reagents, spin labs, any of that stuff. The chelation is preventing the reagent from seeing it accurately. That's a good thing because it shows that it's protected. It becomes a little bit challenging for folks to understand when to add booster minerals, but we can get into that later. The more critical part is that our product is safe. We're able to have a little higher copper levels in the water that are safe and will not come out and stain your pool. So that's really a big part of our success is that method that we chelate the minerals. So yeah, it's super important for us, and it's one of the things that really sets us apart.
Talk a little bit about, you mentioned, of course, algae prevention and microalgae. What about phosphate? This is something big in the industry because they're everywhere now. Every product has them. Even metal sequestering agents have phosphates, tile soap, orthophosphates being introduced to the pool water through the cities to keep the pipes from rusting. What about phosphates? What is PoolRx and
Yeah.
phosphates? How does that relate?
Yeah, so phosphates, to start off, I mean, phosphates are simply food for algae, right? Phosphates don't consume the chlorine. They do not consume chlorine. They're feeding the microalgae that consumes your chlorine. So again, with phosphates, you can't see them, you can't smell them, taste them in the water. Elevated levels of phosphates are really a non-issue when using PoolRx as directed. PoolRx is really freeing up the chlorine to be more active and available to really clarify the water, and the phosphates are just a non-issue. So really, and if you're always battling phosphates coming in from other sources, for us, we're making it simple. We're saying, look, we're going to take algae out of the equation, so you no longer have to worry about the phosphates, and you'll be algae free using less chlorine. So it's pretty simple.
Yeah, and then losing less chlorine is a fact because if anyone's used this, and I get a lot of pool pros that ask me afterwards, they're like, my chlorine is like so high in the pool now since I started using PoolRx, I have to cut back. And I used to use 2 tabs. I'm using 1 tab at this pool. And this is the truth of using the product.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Like I said earlier, what we're doing is we're eliminating and preventing that microalgae. And that's the stuff that typically consumes your chlorine. And so when it's not there, your chlorine is much more active and available. And so what you're going to find is that you're going to not only be able to keep and maintain a lower part per million target in your pool, but it's going to physically take you less chlorine to reach and maintain that level. With PoolRx, we only need 0.5 to 1 part per million of free chlorine in the water for our product to work as advertised. With all things considered, if the water's in normal pool chemistry ranges, normal pump run times and filtration, and PoolRx in the water as directed, your water is going to be not only algae free, but clear and safe. Yeah, that reduction of chlorine in the water it's a real thing, and that's a huge value to most service professionals out there and homeowners for that matter, because you're not going to have to use as much. It's going to save you some money, and your water is going to look and stay in a better range for a longer period of time. So a lot of benefits for that. And one thing I do bring up with guys that are listening to this that are full service pros, make PoolRx work for you. What I mean by that is, if you're coming back to a pool and you're still well above 1 part per million of free chlorine in the water, and you can lower your target part per million for that pool for that next week. So you can start by putting in less. If you come back to that pool and you're zeroed out, then you're obviously a little bit too low. But again, even at zero chlorine, I know it's going to maintain clarity for a while, and you're going to still maintain algae free water. This is not a zero chlorine product, but what this is it's another layer of insurance. It's another layer of support that you're not going to come back to these pools that are having algae problems or that are cloudy. You're going to maintain clarity and safety for a lot longer at a lower free chlorine part per million. So again, for the service pros, it's just a great insurance policy. So you're not going to have those repeat phone calls. You're not going to have to come back and hit that pool, a second time that week. So it gives you a lot of wiggle room regarding beta loading conditions and those things that you can't really control. So what I love about it for these guys is that the minerals are always working for you, even when you can't be there, and that's a huge value to a pool professional.
Let's talk about sizing a little bit. Now that you have different sizes available, we can probably touch on a few of those too. And sizing is probably the key to this product.
Yeah, it is. That's where we got to start. It's pretty easy. It's all PoolRx is all the same product as far as our units go. They're just different pre-sized units. As people are used to, the blue and the black units are most common for pools. The blue unit is 7,500 to 20,000 gallons. The black being 20 to 30,000 gallons. And then we also, of course, have our spa sizes that we've always had, which is the 100 to 400 gallon size, and then the 400 to 1,000 gallon size. So we've always had those. And then new this year, we're coming out. We've come out with two new sizes. We have a red unit that is 2,500 to 5,000 gallons, and we have the orange unit that is 5,000 to 7,500 gallons. And these units are great. There's always kind of been a gap for us. We've typically had to use multiple spa units for these other sized bodies of water. So now, if you have anything in that range, it could be a little above ground pool. It could be a larger like a swim spa. It could be a fountain. Lots of applications for those sizes. And again, you can kind of mix and match as needed. So yeah, we're excited about those. All of our products also come singles now, as well as 4-packs. The 4-packs are new this year. We've always had the blue and the black 4-packs and the booster 4-packs, but now we have our smaller sized units that come in 4-packs that are great for service professionals.
And I think the new sizes are essential because, again, sizing the PoolRx unit, I think, is where people make some errors when they put too large of one, because it's based on the
Sure.
mineral content of each size.
Yeah, that's correct. And to your point, yeah, we want to. There's a wide range for error, but there are limits, and we want to stay close to what you're sizing. Because it's pre-sized with the right amount of mineral based on the gallons of the pool. So if you overdose the pool excessively, the granular mineral that's packed inside of the PoolRx unit needs to dissolve out of that unit completely and immediately into the water. And if there's not enough, if there's too much mineral, it won't have room to dissolve into solution. The analogy I use is like a glass of iced tea. You pour sugar into it and you stir it up, and that sugar makes it sweet. And the excess sugar settles to the bottom of the glass. Same with us. If you put too much mineral in the water, only so much can dissolve into solution, and that excess mineral will either float around and that water will be blue and murky, or it'll settle to the bottom, or it'll stick to the scale. And so we don't want that to happen. I mean, it's a pretty easy fix. If you've slightly overdosed, you can just dilute the water and lower the pH a little bit to help dissolve those minerals off the surfaces. If you've done an extreme overdose, which from time to time happens because folks don't listen or don't read the directions, if you put a blue unit into a spa, you're going to have to drain and start over. I mean, it's just too much. So, yeah, that's again, guys, the easy part of our product. They're all labeled very clearly of what gallons you're supposed to support. Yeah, that's definitely where we start. So sizing is important.
And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. Ideally, in the dreamland world, all the pools are balanced, pH is in range, chlorine's in range, there's no algae in the pools. But that's not the real world case out there. And let's just talk to the pool pros out there that have a normal pool route. Let's say you get to a pool, it's 15,000 gallons, and the walls are covered in mustard algae.
Yeah.
You get to a pool and the pool is turning on you at that point too. So now at this point, you can use PoolRx for sure because it is going to help turn that pool around. How would you size something for a situation like that?
Yeah, good question. And you kind of hit it on the head with the sizing. If the black unit has 12 ounces of mineral, and it's can support 20 to 30,000 gallons. Our mineral, and I didn't really get into this, but most of you know out there, but the mineral dissolves into solution, forms a residual in the water, and it kills and prevents the algae. And then as the water flows over the unit that you leave in the pump basket or the skimmer, the minerals are reionized to last for up to 6 months. And so regarding sizing, you're pretty safe if you have a lot of algae in that pool and you're at 15,000 gallons. Some of that mineral is going to get used up on that initial clearing of that algae, right? So using the black unit, as long as you're above 15, I would stay above 15,000 gallons. You're safe to use the black unit in an algae pool. If you're below 15, I would stay with, if you're 15 or below, I'd stay with the blue unit. And to your point, David, it kind of, if you can think about it, the blue unit maxes at 20,000 gallons. And if so, we're at the tipping point right there. That's the max we can handle. And so if you put a blue unit, which is the max, the most we can handle is 20,000 gallons, and that pool has a bunch of mustard or green algae or whatever algae in there, we're going to be under that tipping point pretty quick. So I would prefer you guys go with the larger unit. So again, it's rated for 20 to 30, but if you have issues, if you're above 15, you're safe to use the black unit. And you also talked about normal pool chemistry. So if you want to go back into that a little bit, I can go there.
Yeah. So let's say that you do have a pool and it's fine, everything's fine and you've maintained it well and it's in the normal ranges of the chemistry. The sizing for that unit would just be the exact size of the unit for that size pool, right?
Sure. I mean, again, if you're closer to that, 18 to 20,000, I would definitely go with the black unit. But getting back to the pool chemistry, so PoolRx is, I mean, if your water's in normal range, right, and we're talking about, normal pool chemistry ranges that are standard for the industry, that includes obviously, your cyanuric acid levels and also your any kind of metal in the water. If those are all in normal ranges, this is a complete, it's as simple as it gets. You're basically picking the right unit. You're starting with a clean filter, and you're dropping it in a skimmer or pump basket, and you're running the pump long enough for all the minerals to dissolve. You simply maintain normal pool chemistry, and you're going to notice a lot less chlorine is going to be needed, and you're going to be algae free and using less chemicals for 6 months. So that's how easy it is, and that's how most people experience PoolRx. And to your point, you asked about pool service guys that are running into all sorts of chemistry issues, right? And they go from, depending on what part of the country they're in, will kind of depend on what issues they run into. You know, in the West and the Sun Belt, cyanuric acid is a real issue. People are not; these customers are not allowing you to drain their pools, and that high cyanuric really is a struggle for a lot of service guys because obviously we're a lot of people are using trichlor tabs in the summer, and that cyanuric acid goes up pretty quickly using those tabs. And as everybody knows, the higher that cyanuric goes, the chlorine will last longer, but it will kill slower. And so what happens as that cyanuric goes well above your 100 part per million, 150 parts per million, that chlorine in the water is not killing the algae and bacteria as fast as it's growing. And that's where PoolRx comes in, and we take algae out of the equation in these high cyanuric environments. And that's allowing that slow acting chlorine to be more active and available to really, go after the bacteria and keep that water clear and safe. That is really where guys start with PoolRx is in their problem pools. And That could be, because of the cyanuric acid. It could also, just be from bather loading conditions. You might have normal pool chemistry ranges and a good cyanuric level, but just beta loading conditions and also food sources. If you do have those high phosphates that are coming in from your source water, if they're like you mentioned earlier, they're coming in small different areas, in the environment. If those keep going up, you're going to keep, you're going to keep feeding that microalgae, and you're going to keep having problems. And again, with PoolRx, we just don't have those problems because we're preventing that algae from growing in the first place.
And if you're looking for other podcasts, you can, of course, find those on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, click on the podcast icon. And I have over 1,800 podcasts there for you to listen to at your leisure. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.